Then we assist a lot of real estate professionals among us of as well as other clients with regards to their taxes, GST, HST concerns, and any issues they may have with Canada Revenue Agency or the agency may have with them. So
Good. So, like I was saying, we have a couple real estate agents and licensed admins and unlicensed admins for real estate agents.
perfect.
And I was hoping today that they could pick your brain a little bit about.
Yeah, sure.
So I hope they all brought a ton of questions. So the last 2 weeks, we've been running a webinar series on profit and loss.
Okay.
So a lot of the admins do the P&L for the agents, the accounting. Some of them don't have accountants and they're kind of like doing things via QuickBooks and then
Yeah.
going from there. So does anyone have a question they want to start with? If you're muted, let me know and I'm going to unmute you.
I'll start with a question.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just had to go close my door. I forgot to do that. So my first question is, how long do you need to keep paper receipts? But if you're using QuickBooks and you're taking photos of the receipts, is that sufficient?
Yep. So QuickBooks has this option there. They've connected with Receipt Bank. So you can actually book an expense into QuickBooks and then upload that receipt to correspond to that expense. As long as you have access to all of these expenses and you can reproduce them, it's a 7-year span to hold all of this onto.
Okay.
Plus
And
the current year. So it's
okay,
7 years plus the current year, right?
Okay. As long as you keep that QuickBooks account for that
Well,
long.
QuickBooks account and all of those digital receipts are attached to every expense on there, right? So let's say you're going out and you buy business cards and you pay, for instance, Crush Media or some print store for $250, right? And then you have that receipt, you take a picture of it and you attach it to the expense on the QuickBooks. It gives you that option right now that you can upload the actual attachment. So as long as it's all there and you have it and you're sure that it's there, then that suffice, right? But personally, I would recommend scanning everything to make sure you have a backup, because what if you forget your ID or
Yeah. Or you could just keep the paper receipt like in a file somewhere.
or keep a paper receipt, or like I say, we try to push for everything digital with clients. So scanning everything is suffice, right? So
Okay. Thank you.
okay, no problem.
We talked about Receipt Bank, if you guys don't remember, 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
Yep.
So that's the app that I was telling you guys. Michael, let me ask you a question though. If they have an accountant that's linked to that QuickBooks, they don't have to scan that receipt then. It's simply just take a photo of it, it uploads to their QuickBooks, and then the accountant can handle it on the other
Yeah,
side, right?
exactly. So like I have a lot of clients that obviously we use QuickBooks Online and I have an accountant's copy or accountant's access to them. So what I tell my clients is, let's say they go out to even buy LCBO or whatever, that expense that they're booking in, take a picture of it and attach it to that expense so that if I need to, I can open it to verify it, right? Especially the biggest issue
Okay.
with fuel. Everybody puts in Petro Canada. Let's say they go spend $80 on fuel, but then when you open that receipt, it's $50 fuel, $10 lottery, $20 cigarettes.
Right. Okay.
So you have to be certain of what
Okay.
you're booking off of that
You
receipt.
can't say $80 fuel and then you open the expense and it says $50 fuel,
Yeah.
$10 lottery, some dollars cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So any other questions, guys? What's next?
What's the best way to track kilometers?
So as per CRA, you're supposed to have a log. It's a log that you're going from this. You track your starting address, you track your ending address, and the distance. You can use Google Maps for it. There's a number of apps right now that come out with this that you can just open the app and you press, hey, I'm starting right now. So you click the button that you're starting. And when you get to your destination,
Oh, that's cool.
Click finish and it automatically creates a little log entry for it. You can add a name to that. And so then you just go print off at the end of the month or whatever period you need. the whole summary of that. I can send an email after to Valerie with a number of apps that provide that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
The QuickBooks
Perfect.
app does have that actually. I was just looking
Yeah,
at it
I've
last
heard that they
night.
do now, right? So that I know as well. I'm just not sure if it's as easy
A
to.
couple people have mentioned too that Mile IQ.
Yes, that's the one that I know, Mile IQ.
Great.
So I've just muted a few people because there's a little bit of feedback coming through. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself before you ask. And some of the agents, there's actually a couple people here mentioned Mile IQ as something they use, like a good app for mileage.
I had another question actually. So
Okay.
a lot of people were saying that you could write off portions of your clothing. I was always told that that's not a possibility because like for any job you need to have clothing, right? So but I know like a few people who actually will write off a percentage of their clothing per year. Is that a legitimate thing?
Nope.
Okay, good. I thought not.
I work.
Not even if you have them like custom suits made or anything like that for events.
No, the only time that you can write off clothing is if you're hired as an actual model and you have to use it for your job. I have clients who sell on the shopping channel and they're the presenters and they're not even allowed to write off their clothing either.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
What about branded clothing for giveaways?
Oh, good question.
Well, if you're doing a giveaway, then now it's different because now you're buying that as an advertising expense and you
Okay.
book it for advertising, right?
Okay.
So that's different. So if you're buying something and you're going to give it away, then we're doing it as an like as a promotion or a gift giveaway. Just like if you're buying, for instance, you go buy $200 worth of Tim Hortons gift cards and then you give them away, that you can claim that as an advertising and promotion expense as well.
So then would you claim gifts to clients, like client gifts, closing gifts as advertising and promotion or just as gifts?
Well, on the tax return, it goes under advertising and promotion.
Okay.
When I do it, at least. Also, what I will do is I'll send. I have a little spreadsheet created just for real estate agents of items that they can write off. Like
Oh, awesome.
what categories that we put it in on our end afterwards. So I'll share that with Valerie. I'll just clean it up a little bit and I'll share it with Valerie and she can
Thank you.
it. And you
Yeah, that's great.
that as a guideline for what you can write off or not write off. So
Okay, perfect. And then my last question about that, LCBO, is that a second area or is that under client gifts?
no, that goes under advertising and promotion as well.
Advertising promotion. Okay.
Yep.
Are you talking about like if you were to buy it as a closing gift, Daniela?
Yeah, so because
Okay.
I thought that I didn't know if it was like under food, like for example, if you had like
Yeah.
a party and or like you have different categories of food. So you have like food
Meals
that
and
you had,
entertainment, and there's advertising and promotion, right?
right? So if you were to take a client for a coffee, that coffee would be considered
Meals and entertainment.
meals and entertainment. Okay.
Yeah.
So on the receipt, you're supposed to write on the bottom of the receipt the client's name, and then you upload it to Receipt Bank or whatever you use, right?
So if you have a business meeting and you have dinner, you have to write on there, had a business meeting with this person.
Yeah. So what I do is at the bottom of your receipt, let's say you go to Montana's, at the bottom of the receipt, there's a little bit of white space or at the top of the receipt. Just write business meeting, this date, and then the client's name. And that's
That's
it.
good. Okay.
I recommend always writing that and then you scan that in or you take a picture or however you do it. And then we always have a backup for it. So we can justify it, right? So,
Right. Okay.
That's good to know, actually. Thank you.
My old way is to just throw them all in an envelope and just
oh,
write
that's
them all.
better than I get. I have some people that throw it in a drawer from their like the bookcase or whatever, and they bring me the whole drawer.
Here's
So,
a
Michael, let me
drawer.
ask you this. We have, what would you say is the number one thing if you could talk to any real estate agent right now to be prioritized?
Organization.
What would be the organization? So not bringing things to you, your receipts to you from a drawer.
Don't, yeah, and don't, you know what? I'd rather have you bring it in on the quarterly basis to me.
Okay.
Okay.
We can have our staff clean it up for you on the quarterly basis and bill you a small amount for the cleanup, or put it all into Excel for us right away, right? And then just bring the backup that if we need to verify it, it'll lower your fees from the office at the end of the year if you bring it in quarterly. So
Do you suggest doing HST quarterly or annually? Like
That-
what would be,
so this is a question I get all the time. This depends how well you are at saving. Some people are good at putting that HST money on the side and they can put it in a savings account and not touch it. Other people are very bad with it, and comes HST time, they have no money to pay the HST.
yeah,
Right.
Spent it already.
yeah.
And those
So what
I
do you think?
find are the best. Those I find most common is with annual filers is most common.
Okay.
I recommend doing it quarterly, but quarterly is only good if you can discipline yourself to get everything together and get it ready. Because if your quarter ends March 31st, by April 30th, you have to file it. So you literally have 1 month to bring it back if you're on the quarterly, if you're a quarterly filer. If you're an annual filer, you have 3 months. You do it by March 31st.
Okay.
So sometimes it's easier to do it annually for us because we'll just do it all in one shot and we do your taxes and everything. But we'd like to do it quarterly to see you regularly, and then we start doing a little bit at a time so we don't get it last minute. Because if it's due March 31st, we tend to see clients coming in March 20th and asking to get it done for March 31st. So.
Okay. How much would you say from each commission check they put aside? Like, do you have a certain percentage that you recommend?
I recommend 10% usually.
10%? Yeah. Okay.
So it's 13% is HST, but that depends how many expenses they have, right? So
Yeah. Okay.
I had a-
some agents have a lot, other agents have very minimal expenses. They don't want to invest, right?
Yeah.
I had a quick question about that. So I was told to put 25 or 20% away to cover both personal and HST taxes from
Yeah.
every single check.
Yeah,
Does that
that's
make
good, yeah.
sense?
Depending on what your commission range is at, right?
Yeah.
So how about 25%? Then you're probably getting about what, 60K in commission, between 50 and 60K in commissions at 25%.
Over the year?
Yeah.
No.
Then
So you're saying the higher the commission in, like the higher the gross commission, the higher the percentage.
of course, yes.
Okay. So what would you suggest for over that?
Depending. So I'll give you when I send out the Excel file, I'll give you a little guideline on it as well.
Okay.
The HST
So
is separate,
yeah.
right? It's 13%. That's just
Mhm.
off of the commissions. And
yeah.
then you have to take into effect your commission, your actual commission, then you have to net that. So 25% is good if you have a lot of expenses, right? I don't know how much you're spending as well on your.
Right.
So
Because on a team, we
agents
don't
that
have very many expenses.
Yeah, typical agents that I see don't hire secretaries or assistants. So their
Yeah.
main expenses is fuel, is that they're spending their cell phone bills, portion of their property, they'll write off 20% of their house. So depending on how much they spend on their monthly on their house, right? And then
Yeah.
there's some LCBO always. So but like I say, it varies. So it all depends on how much you are actually spending.
So I was given the rule of thumb that if you're bringing in 100,000, you should put 25% of every check away.
Well, that's good if you have a lot of expenses, right?
What does that mean? Sorry.
So if your expenses are high, right? So I can give me 1 second. So if you have about if you have, I'd say on that you have what, about $20,000 worth of expenses on the 25,000?
So you'll have, sorry, on
How much
25,000.
expenses do you have on the 100,000?
Expenses probably around 30.
Yeah, okay, then yeah, then 25K should be suffice for that.
Okay, yeah. And can you also, when it comes to your personal ones, you write off a portion of your RSP?
RSP just goes as a contribute. It goes as a contribution that you can do, right? But that
Okay,
goes on your taxes. So what you should do is when you get your T4A slip, which you should get by the end of this month, you go give it to your accountant right away and say, "Hey, can you give me a couple scenarios on RSP contributions?" And then based on that, you tell them how many rough number of expenses, and they'll give you a few scenarios on what's worth it for you to contribute.
oh, perfect, okay.
And I think the next question I would have is around payroll. So a lot of our teams don't have payroll companies. They're doing the payroll themselves. Do you have, like, as an accountant,
Yeah.
how do you help manage that?
Oh, we just. Oh, you mean that like the agents have like an assistant and they put them on payroll?
Yeah, so let's say an assistant's using QuickBooks, because I used to use QuickBooks and run our payroll through that,
Yep.
and then just go to like the government website, do
Tables
the
on this-
calculator on
yeah.
there,
Yep.
and
So
then know how to pay it like back to the government.
QuickBooks Online actually has a payroll built into it right now. So if you're using
Yeah,
QuickBooks,
a really
I
good one.
highly recommend to activate the payroll feature on QuickBooks Online and to use that.
Okay.
You can put in the hours
Okay.
right away. You can set them up on direct deposit or cut them the check. So, and it's pretty.
So if you have a
Oh, you can even do direct deposit.
Yeah, we can do direct deposit through
Wow.
QuickBooks Online, everything now. So.
I think I heard Tammy.
Yeah, sorry, if you have a company that's doing payroll, can you write off the expenses that you pay the payroll company?
Of course,
Wow.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. Everything related to that completely.
So we use ADP for payroll.
Yep.
I don't even put it in QuickBooks. I'm sure our accountant does on his end.
Yeah.
And then
they do
ADP
internal
does
record.
all the, yeah, they take care of all the back end stuff too.
Yep, all the T4s and everything. So with QuickBooks Online, you run
Yeah,
your payroll, and then
yeah.
at the end of the year, you can go to reports, and then under reports it shows a T4 and a T4 summary. So the T4 you give to your employee, the T4 summary is what you file with Canada Revenue Agency. Everything is very simple right away in QuickBooks Online now. It even tells you how
Mhm.
much remittance you should make every month, the following month, for
Yeah.
the payroll deductions that you made. Everything is tracked right away in QuickBooks Online.
So then at the end of the year, we should only be tracking the CPP and that kind of thing in the EI at the end of the year rather than monthly?
Well, no, you do it monthly, regularly. You do it monthly, and then when you go into the reports under employees and payroll taxes, it will tell you how much you have to pay every month for the 15th of the month.
Okay, but we don't use QuickBooks. We only use Excel. So
I'll use Excel. I'll use Excel for yourself. Okay.
yes.
Then what you do is, if you're doing it in Excel, then what do you use to calculate the CPP? Use the payroll on diskette from the CRA website?
The payroll does everything for us. We have a payroll company that does all the payroll for us.
Okay.
So then I just get a statement saying this is what the pay is. Here's the EI, CPP, and everything that's been taken off.
Oh, okay. And then do they remit the payroll taxes for you as well? then?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So so then you just keep all of that in. If you're tracking it in Excel, then you have to just add up all of the whole gross payroll you can write off completely.
Okay.
That's your expense. And then the fees associated with the payroll company is a full write-off for you too.
Okay.
And then I'm sure they will produce then for you at the end of the year, they will produce a T4 summary for you and a T4 for each employee, correct? Do they do
Yes,
that
they
for
do.
you?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so yeah, so then that T4 summary, either they'll file it electronically and they'll probably just give you a copy of it then.
Okay,
So they handle everything with CRA on that.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever you have to submit to the government at the end of February, I currently do my payroll, and this is the first time I've been a paid employee for this company. Do I just send the summary to the government, just mail it into the government address, or is there other forms that need to go with it?
So with the T4 summary, you're supposed to send in the T4 summary, and you're supposed to send in all the employee copies of the the CRA copies of the T4s, which is it's one T4 for every person, right?
Yeah.
So that goes in with the T4 summary, and there's a specific address where to send that one, where to send the T4 to. Do not send it to any other address but that one. Otherwise, it will not be received and it will not be processed.
Okay.
It used to be the fact that you were able to drop off these items at any CRA mailbox in the country, and they would automatically be forwarded internally. That is not the fact for about 3 years now. So there's an address for where to send these documents. Ensure that it's sent there. I would recommend sending it by express post, so you have tracking on it as well, in
Okay.
case they ever come back to you in June saying, hey, we've never received your T4s.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone have any other questions before I
What do
ask
we
the room?
need for, oh, sorry, what do we need for proof of travel vacation write-off? I know before we mentioned about a business card to say a KW office or something like that, but is there anything else that we need?
What do you mean? You're trying to write off a personal vacation?
No, like say you go to, you know how everybody right now is at the KW or just got
Yeah.
back from KW. Is there anything specific that you need to track about that?
So just to receive, if you're not being reimbursed from your employer for this, then keep track of,
No, I mean, sorry, for agents.
yeah, so for agents,
Yeah.
so keep track of, obviously a business card would
So
be.
we just had a huge convention, Michael, where like 22,000 agents went to Dallas.
Okay.
And so I think what she's saying is if her agent was there, how does he use that? How does he write this off as an expense? Like, how do you justify that?
Take the full, take all the receipts that you have associated with that and create a little Excel, like a little table or a spreadsheet that's relating to that whole travel. And then if CRA wouldn't really ask, but if they would ask, we can also get a letter from your brokerage saying that there was this convention. We have to print off
Okay.
from the KW website that there was actually a convention held. You have to have a hotel that's relative in that area close to the convention, and then the travel airfare and all that to there, and meals incurred.
And you recommend having a business credit card to use
But it's
instead of
hard
like a
to do
personal
with
one.
So what I recommend this, because it's hard to get a business credit card for a real estate agent. So go get yourself a normal credit card. Let's say Canadian Tire, they're the easiest ones to get for a lot of clients. Get a Canadian Tire credit card and dedicate it solely to everything you use for real estate. So everything related to your work, solely dedicate that one card. Easier for us to reconcile that at the end of the year as well, because we know that all of your expenses go through that one card then too. So
Okay. So just keeping it separate from everything else. That's
that
the most important thing.
That's the best.
Okay.
If you can't get a business card, which is difficult, then get a separate credit card. So
Okay.
I did that and it didn't work out exactly like that this year. I tried.
you started using it personally?
No, I stopped kind of using it. I started every now and again, I put like a business expense on my regular credit card, like not thinking. So then my business one doesn't really have anything on it. Like it has a couple of things on it, but
Yeah, it's hard to be disciplined.
yeah, exactly. Because it just like
Goes back to the word Michael's used several times, that discipline. You have to be disciplined, Daniela.
Yeah, I don't even think about it. I'm just like, oh, damn, this is for work, and then whatever. You know what I mean? So, but like the Austin trip, we could do that for that too, right? Right, Val?
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
You just create a little spreadsheet. It's easier. So then you have everything related to that one trip on that spreadsheet.
Okay.
They would just do a separate spreadsheet for that in case it would be asked. 99 times out of 100 that they won't ask for it, but
It'll be
Yeah.
that one time.
at the end of the year, this is how it works. We look at your total income and then we look at your categories of expenses. We have
Right.
ratios that we know are acceptable for certain professions.
Mhm.
So right away, if let's say you made 100,000 and you have like 40,000 in travel and you're an agent, we're gonna ask, hey, why is your travel so high? So
Yeah.
we expect to see something more like that in under advertising and promotion instead of under travel.
Okay.
So we have certain guidelines that we know work with CRA that's acceptable,
Mhm.
and so we try to be within those ranges before we submit. So
Okay.
I have two questions. One's going to be a big one at the end, so I'm going to try to save that one. But the one that I have to ask, and I'm asking for everybody else. So let's say you're an accountant for me,
yeah,
and the government calls me. They have questions about, I don't know, like HST, or they just are payrolls calling. Would you field those calls for the agent?
yes. With the way that our office works is that when you retain us to do your taxes or your HST, we deal with everything for the government completely. So we encourage you to any correspondence, letters, calls you receive,
Mhm.
immediately tell them to call us. We have you sign an authorization and consent form that we're authorized to represent you with regards to your HST number, which is your business activities,
Mhm.
and to your personal activities. And then we deal with everything. And then whatever we don't have in our office from you, we reach out to you to prepare it for us, to get it to us.
Yeah.
And then we'll organize it, assemble it, and submit it to CRA as they require.
So I think that's really key for anyone here, for any admin here who's doing accounting for their agent, is to know that. So for us on our team, if I get a call from the government, or if I see he has, like, you know how they'll send you that you have one message in your CRA or your government account, I don't even touch it. I immediately let our accountant know that they've called. I just see the number on the phone and I'm like, got a call, deal with it. Right. So that's important for you guys.
That's how it should be. Sometimes you may disclose something to CRA that you shouldn't.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's purposeful what you're doing, and just not knowing what
Yeah.
you're saying, and that can trigger something else that will cause concern or a flag for the agent, and may cause a review or an inquiry down the road, which we want to try to avoid.
And then I have another question. This isn't the big one. The other question is, how often would you meet with the admin, or would you suggest meeting with? So I'm going to give you an example. So I meet with our accountant once a month, and we go over bookkeeping every month, and we kind of go over if there's any major, because my team leader does a lot of investments and things like that. So we do have some bigger expenses on our side, and we have 3 QuickBooks. We have 1 QuickBook, but 3 categories in our QuickBook, 3 accounts. So we sit down monthly and go over everything just to prepare for my meeting with my agent. And he's very much hands off. So what's your recommendation? Like, how
Well,
often would you?
Well, that's why we say is what we want to do is with our agents, the real estate agents, we try to meet at least every quarter instead of
Mhm.
meeting once a year. With
Mhm.
a lot of them, I speak to them every other week because we email regularly.
Yeah.
I've set up corporations for a lot of my real estate agents because they do investments as well. They buy properties and all this. So
So
I
when
set
you,
up all the holding companies for
okay.
for all of these investments.
So you set
So
up the holding companies?
yeah, we do everything. Yeah, we do everything here in house. So
Okay, so you can actually, so that, because that's going to lead into my big question. So you set up the holding companies
yeah,
for the agents as well, and then you do all like that. Okay.
yeah, we do all the bookkeeping, the year ends, and all of that. We do everything in house here. We do all the incorporations for them, whether
Okay.
it's an investment company that they'll use to buy properties, or just management companies for other ventures that they plan to do.
Okay.
We do all of it in here in house.
So talk about what a holding company is.
So usually a holding company is set up basically your sheltering income from CRA, but it's used for to manage other companies that you have below, right? So let's say you have a company that owns a bunch of one owns one property, another one owns another
Mhm.
property. So instead of you drawing salaries from each company, you set up a company on top of that, which is your holding company, which owns all of these other companies. So it's a structural thing that's used mostly for investments and
Yeah.
investment properties, things that it's you hold by holding it through companies. Sometimes you can get funding and you bring in investors, so you're not personally on title for these things. So
Yeah.
it's a very different.
Well, we have a couple holding
very,
companies.
yeah,
I
it's
so
more complex. Depends what your needs are to get.
yeah. So my big question is this the new thing where agents can actually incorporate their business, like
Yes, so
personal.
we're reviewing that right now because it's not 100% everything's finalized on it yet. We're still
Okay.
getting everything trickled down to us. We've heard a lot of rumors on this for the last few months of how it's all going to be set up. We
Mhm.
see how the regulatory measures will be done. If it all goes through the way as we hope that it does, then it'll be
Mhm.
very advantageous for agents, especially agents which have higher commissions,
Mhm.
because by having your commissions through a corporation up to $500,000 in net income, you're only exposed to 15% income tax.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa.
Isn't that insane?
So it's
So, and that's going to be a
Awesome.
strong focus on like agents that have teams and bigger teams.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
500,000 net.
Yes,
Isn't that
You only have to
crazy?
claim 15%.
yes.
So that's the new thing. I don't know if you guys have heard this talk. Well, it's not new, but the talk has been going on about how agents have never been able to incorporate their business. Like Chris was never able to go
Yeah.
Chris Knight in the corporation, right? Like it's always
Mhm.
been
Under his
personal. Yeah, he's got personal taxes, and it can get pretty
only
pretty
the brokerage
expensive.
only the brokerage can
Yeah.
be separated.
Actually, good questions or good another question here. So sub brokerages. So we have our brokerage, and let's say our team wanted to do a sub brokerage.
Yes.
We're good for, could we incorporate and we don't have to wait until all of this comes
I
through?
need to verify that with Oria, how that
Okay.
works as well as a sub brokerage. I know that brokerages you can, because I have plenty of brokerages that I have as
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
So we have them, but the sub brokerages I am unsure about.
Okay.
Then all of the brokerages I deal with are all on their own, right?
Okay.
And they have multiple locations, but it's all under one
Under
location.
them.
So
Yeah. Okay, good.
I
Because I
need to
think,
verify with Oria how that went.
yeah. Yeah, no rush. Actually, their information on sub brokerages is very vague. Because we
Yeah.
were trying to do a sub brokerage ourselves. So, any other questions?
How would
No,
it
this
work?
is great.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. How would it work with the 15% income tax if it all goes according to plan? Would that be just on the net earnings, and then the agent would then extract the income from the corporation and then pay income tax on that amount, or
No,
is it?
so this is what you can do then. So if it's set up through a corporation, then the way that it's set up is that all your commissions go into this corporation. So then from that corporation, you can either draw yourself a salary from your corporation at what you set up with your accountant,
Mhm.
or you can set up a salary and a dividend, or you can just set up as a dividend from your corporation. So then you only pay tax on that amount that comes to you from your company, right? So
And you can set up the dividends right through payroll company to the ADP. Like that's who we
yeah,
use.
you
So
can
you can
set
do
up a
it.
draw that it automatically comes to your account every month, and then at the end of the year, at the end of the when it's your fiscal year end, which is
Mhm.
typically different than your calendar year end, your accountant deduces if the money that you took out, how much of it is actually an actual dividend or it's a loan to the shareholder. So
Okay.
that all depends on how profitable your company is and if there's a net income and retained earnings goes a lot more.
Okay.
We can set up a discussion on that once it gets finalized.
Yeah, we can definitely do that because that's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, we do a lot
So,
of that. So a lot of setup and advisory on that.
Okay. Now, do you have bookkeeping and accounting all in one in your office, Michael, like your
Oh, yeah,
full
so
service?
we have a couple bookkeepers in here. We typically normally don't do bookkeeping because we do a lot of litigation. So our office focuses on helping people who have issues with CRA already.
Okay.
But we do a lot of year end. We focus more on corporate and on real estate agents is who we deal with primarily. But we do have two bookkeepers here in our office, and then we have a company that we outsource here in Hamilton, two bookkeepers that they do a lot of bookkeeping for us. So
Okay. All right. Well, does anyone have any other questions for Michael?
No, this has been awesome. Thank you.
I
Michael-
will give Valerie my email
Yeah.
address. If anybody wants to, they can feel free to email me, and either myself or somebody from our office will get back to you.
Okay, perfect. I'll send you their contact or send everyone your contact information and
Fantastic.
then we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks, Michael.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful
Thank
day,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Everyone else who's part of our 4-week webinar, do you want to hang on there for a bit? And anyone who's just jumping on for Michael, feel free to jump off if you want. Not like jump off. I mean like off the call. All right. So I think we are good. So I hope there was some takeaways there for you guys.
Definitely.
Okay, good. I'm going to unmute you guys now so we can have a good conversation. No, I'm not. It's not letting me. All right.
You would set that up.
So-
yeah.
So one of the big things for me was the incorporation, guys. Like honestly, like a lot of our agents are working at high level building teams. And I think I think we all need to get more familiar with that before it happens, because if they can net 500 and only be charged the 15% tax on that, I'm sure there's a lot of other things in there, but that would be amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? That surprised me, that part. And I actually thought it was going to be implemented faster, but apparently there's still some things that they need to do. So,
How does that work right now? Because I know of a few agents that were incorporated a while ago. So is it going to change from what they incorporated to a
They've
new
probably-
system?
yeah, so they've probably incorporated a business.
Okay.
So not as an individual. So like for you, like Ryan it's Ryan Campbell Real Estate.
Yeah.
So it's him, right?
Yeah.
So and everything he does is for him. So he would have to incorporate. That was the problem. He was never able to incorporate as an individual. Does that make sense? Like Chris was never able to go into corporation because it's always just been Chris Knighton.
Yeah, so I
Um,
know that there's a couple of agents here in town that are incorporated. So I'm just
They must have
wondering about that.
incorporated under a business name though. So they must have opened up you'd have to go back and talk to them, because in my understanding, you have to open up a business
Okay.
and have that going. And we never did that. We have holding accounts. Like we have 3 holding companies. So we could probably take the holding company and incorporate it, but I don't want to do that because we want to incorporate Chris, because
Mhm.
that's actually where
That's where
all
the
of the
benefits will be.
yeah, that's the big chunk where the money goes, is to Chris. His commission checks come to Chris. They don't go to a holding company. Our
Okay.
holding companies are rent goes in, rent comes out. The invoices for the billing on like hydros and stuff that goes in. So if you ever have see on any one of your teams 195 Ontario Inc., it's 195 and then a long number Ontario Inc. Those are holding companies. So when you see people buying properties and the name on there for the buyer is
Similar.
195 Ontario Inc., that's a holding company.
Okay.
And that's just investors' easy way of getting through the process.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That makes-
Michael did mention he has an Excel sheet that he's going to now. He had mentioned it to me before that they've kind of put these things together to help agents stay focused and on task and not have to worry so much about the accounting side of the things. And if it's something you guys could use, by all means, take it and go. Like, use as much of it as you can. So one thing I need to do is when we were at family reunion, I received a photo from the Bob Lucido team that they were number 2. So congratulations, Debbie.
Thanks.
The
Yeah, we
big
reviewed that.
win.
It was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got the
huge.
photo. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So if you guys don't know this, obviously Tammy is part of the Bob Lucido, or sorry, not Tammy. Debbie and her team is part of the Bob Lucido team. So, and they are now number 2. Is it worldwide or international? which I found out are two separate things this weekend, believe it or not.
Felicito Global, it's number 2 worldwide.
Worldwide. So I'm going to tell you guys the difference about international and worldwide. So Chris and I we purposely left one meeting early to go to this mastermind and sit in there. And it was with, oh crap, what's their name? The Loken team. And it was like how to build a team and keep them.
Yep.
Went in there, had front row seats, perfect, kicked us out because they were like, hey, if you're not Keller Williams worldwide, you don't get to be in here. And I'm like, we're worldwide, like obviously, yeah. And they're like, no, worldwide is for everybody outside of US and Canada. And I'm like, that makes zero sense. Like it turns out Keller Williams Canada and US are international and everybody else is worldwide. So I went to a bar instead. No, just kidding. We have 20 minutes left on our call, guys. So we could either close up early, or does anyone have any questions they want to talk about the week before? Or even more questions that we could maybe possibly send to the accountant? So I think one of the things that I do that's extremely important, and that's why I stress that with him, is the accounting side of things. When the government calls or you get the emails from the government, I don't answer them because you'll have the government for your HST, the government for your taxes, and the government for your payroll. So there's kind of 3 different departments that might intertwine together for you. And I'm go back like 3 years ago and I answered the phone once and it was about payroll. Something had happened on payroll and I answered the question. I'm like, I honestly don't know. We just opened up a management company, and that red flag, and they're like, oh, you have a management company. And I was like, oh crap. Turns out it was nothing major. But he was so true. It's like they take your words. And then I had to go through all of these series of, okay, what's your password? What's your nephew's first name? Like over the phone just to get whatever. So the accountant will have you sign an authorization form at the very beginning, and you never have to talk to the government. That pressure is completely removed from you. They will deal with it at all times. I just have to now say, I got a call from the government. I didn't answer it. So if you could just call and follow up with them, that'd be great. And they do it all. So what else is going on, guys?
What are you covering next week?
Next week, we're going to have the conversations one. So we're going to finish the week off with, here's what we're going to do now. 15th protocol. How do we have a conversation? How do we know when we have to get rid of an expense? And how do we have that conversation with the team lead? When we need to add an expense, how do we do that? And then how do we delegate a budget? So a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to do this training or I want to do this. And I always say, well, is it in your budget? And they're like, I don't know. So we're gonna kind of backtrack for you guys as individuals on how to build a budget and ensure that your growth plan accommodates the budget as well. So let's say in your growth plan is to go to family reunion, or if it's to go to mega camp, or if it's, I want to take the perfect real estate assistant, or whatever that looks like, to know it's in your budget and what you've allocated for training for you as an individual, not for just the teammates, but for you as an individual to help you get to that step as well. And then how to have the conversation. So what's a 15th protocol meeting look like for you guys? And how is that implemented? Or your weekly meetings with your Rainmaker. What do you guys talk about? What does that look like? What do you bring to him to show him that you're on top of the P&L? And for those of you that are going to start the P&L, want to start the P&L, should be doing P&L, I'm going to show you guys the form that we use. So on Friday mornings, we meet and we'll look at income and expenses. Sometimes those meetings are 15 minutes because there's not a lot to talk about. And sometimes they'll be 30 to 45 minutes, depending on like if we do sponsorships, events. I thought, oh, look at the little puppy. I honestly thought you fell for a minute. Hi, buddy.
Hi. Sorry, this is Zeke. I just thought he'd say hi.
Oh, he's so cute. So next week's call will be strictly all about the conversations around the budget and how to be confident in having it and what that looks like and who runs the conversation. Is it you or is it your team leader?
Better be.
So it's us. We run that meeting,
Yeah,
right?
better be.
Yeah, it better be. So if there's anyone on the call that wants to really start working on the P&L, wants to start implementing the profit and loss system with their team, And if it's just you and your rainmaker, that's completely fine too. We're going to close off with, now that we've kind of got a better understanding, I hope, of the budget, and accountants kind of give us some ideas around things now. And then what we're going to do is you're all going to put a date in place for anyone who wants to start doing the P&L, a date in place that you're going to start doing that P&L. So when you get on your call next week, you're already going to say, my 15th protocols are going to be on this day, Val. My weekly meeting about accounting or my semi-weekly meeting about accounting is going to be on this date. And we're just going to hold each other accountable to it, because there's people here who want to do it. And I'm sure there's people here that want to do it, but are afraid to ask to start doing it. Or they've been asking I know there's a few of us on here that have been asking a few times to get the P&L. Where's the P&L? Let's get a budget going. We need to start this. And there's agents at the end of the day, they don't need to be doing the budget. They shouldn't be doing the budget. And even some will say, well, I want to just spend what I want to spend. I've heard that. That's actually a conversation that's come up is, I just want to spend what I want to spend. That's fine. You can, it's your money. You can spend it any way you want. I'm going to protect this stuff that has to do with the team. And then you do whatever you want with your money. And that goes back to that allocation form that we had at the very beginning of the call, the week one. If you can use that form to say, okay, but this is what we need monthly. Anything outside of that, I don't care. That's your money. This is what we need. And I'm going to keep a 25% reserve fund as well. Everything outside of that, you do what you want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So using the allocation form for sure. So I'll send an email out after today. And as soon as all the webinars are done, guys, I'm going to send you out the recordings. I have to download them and convert them. So just so that way it's easier for you guys to get them. And that will take some time. So once we're done the last week, I'll send that out to you guys so you have that, okay?
Awesome.
So, but after today's call, what I'll do, I'm going to get settled back in the office. We literally got home late last night. Macy, you were on my flight, right?
There was.
Yeah. So once I get settled back in here, I will put an email together with exactly what you guys are required to do for next week's call. And it's not for the call, it's for you guys personally, okay? And then if anyone is kind of in between, well, I really want to start doing this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, we'll have that conversation afterwards for sure. Because I know a lot of people don't want to speak up and say, sometimes in front of large groups, so that's completely fine as well. Or we'll put a timeline in place for those of you that want to start doing the P&L and you're just kind of slowly working your way into that position. We'll put a timeline in place what's good for that, okay, and how to get you to that step. All right. So it's going to be a challenging one because it's going to be about having those difficult conversations. And a lot of us don't like that, but it'll be good. Does anyone have any other questions?
Not related to this, but how was family reunion?
Oh, well, oh my God, guys, honestly, it was amazing. My biggest feedback would be is that the lineups were so hard. And if you didn't get there an hour before a mastermind, you often didn't get in.
Wow.
So a couple that I really wanted to go to, Macy was with me. We just looked at the line and we're like, we just knew like we're not going to get into this.
And there wasn't like as much dedicated to like the relationship between like a mega and an assistant, and like the one that there was with like Christybelle Grossman we didn't get into because the lineup was like, I'd say like it seemed like it was like a kilometer long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the biggest struggle, and everybody kind of, oh, he's barking, and that was what everybody was kind of dealing with. However, other than that, it forced you to go outside of your box and find another class to go to. And I jumped in. So Chris and I had to jump in on this one class, and it was Jay Papazan from The One Thing. Like, totally didn't expect it. We were walking by and we're like, hey, let's go into this one. So we went in. It was packed. It was just a bigger hall, so they were able to fit more people in. And it was just like time blocking for whatever your big why is. So I was like, oh my God, what an amazing surprise. So, and then outside of that, I mean, well, it's just late nights. But I didn't do lots of those. I was literally in bed every single night at 10:30. It was amazing.
I think one of the,
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, one of the things that was really great about it, and I think, like, I don't know everybody on this chat, but I know a lot of us obviously work outside of the office. Actually, I don't know if anybody on this chat it works in the office. I'm not
I don't
sure.
think so.
No.
The brokerage?
Yeah, like at the brokerage.
Yeah.
But going with all these agents and people who are from the office was really kind of cool to see how many resources there actually are for us as admins available to us at the office, and they're always there to help us. And I think learning that, like, people always say that and you're like, but then I don't really know who to ask about this or who to ask about this. And but like there really are so many resources for us as admins and director of operations at the office that I feel like probably don't take advantage of enough. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
That's so true, Macy. Did you find value in the admin social too?
Oh my gosh.
Macy and I went to the admin social. It was late at night. It was like 7 o'clock at night, and so 8 o'clock our time, and I'm like normally in my PJs. But it's like lately for me, it's like, what do we do at our market center to give you guys more value? What can we are we fully getting everything? I don't know how to articulate it. So I feel sometimes it's like we talk about the same things over and over again. And I don't know if it's maybe because I do it here, we do it at masterminds, and we do it through like ways of coaching as well. And it's like sitting in a room with these people. I just feel like our market center is we function at a high level, and we should all be super proud of ourselves because we have like, am I saying it right? Like, I'm just trying to like, you guys, when people come into our market center, people start new, admins start new, they immediately get a high level of experience off the hop.
And they want to bring themselves to that next level as well. When I first joined, I first came, I came to Keller Williams in September. It was my first experience with Keller Williams. I've worked for 3 other brands, and I have never felt empowered like I do working for Keller Williams. And all the administrators, I worked in the brokerage for 3 months before we moved off site. And the administrators in that building provide support like nobody's business. But there's also all these groups like Val's putting on right now, and the website groups. The administration power and support is just phenomenal with KW.
Yeah, I think. Sorry. I think one of the things I really enjoyed about the admin social specifically as well was that I think sometimes we get put into like a box as admins, and okay, you have these personality traits and these, these are your duties, and these are the types of people that are admins. One of the things at the admin social was you saw all these other personality types of people doing the same job, just very differently. And it being exposed to that was really interesting. Like, I don't know her last name, but Stephanie, who was high D in an admin position, which I just think like we get told all the time, like that's not the type of person that should be in that role. And it works for her. So getting to hear about that was really, really cool. And then now being exposed to that and thinking of different ways and learning how they handle things and how we could be handling things differently was awesome. It was all just all these different types of people just doing the exact same thing in different ways. And it expanded my horizons of like what type of person can be in this role and what the role itself can be. And it's just what you make of it.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. So let me ask this question. How many people here want to go to Family Reunion next year? It's actually in Las Vegas. Can I say 100% of the people in this group want to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody should be saying yes.
I don't want to go to Vegas.
That's okay.
You want to go to Vegas?
No, I want to go to Family Reunion. I don't want to go to Vegas.
I know. And it's during Super Bowl weekend.
Oh,
yeah. So here's the thing. Next week, we can talk about how, as an admin, I think a lot of the times we get left out. And it's like the agent has to go and this, and that's fine. That's fine. I didn't even have an option. Chris is like, Sue's getting us tickets. And I'm like, oh, to what? And he's like, family reunion. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you. So I'm going to show you guys how you're going to get to family reunion next year or the year after if you don't want to go to Vegas, Debbie. Which, who doesn't want to go to Vegas? And we'll talk about that. So how to keep your growth plan in check too. So that way it's not killing the budget, but it's also, you're getting something out of it as well. Okay. So I'm going to leave us today on Macy's good thing about you guys are not alone. We've got excellent support people around us outside of our agent world, and use it as much as you can. And then if you guys have any questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Thanks, Val.
Right. Welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you all later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Welcome.